Okay. Do you want me to get going, or
Yeah.
we're doing?
We're live.
All right. Thank you. Glad to be here, guys. So I'm Sridhar Pedinti on top, and Syed Abis is sitting right here. He's my colleague. We both work for a company called New Global. We are a DevOps implementation system integrator based out of Dallas, Irving, actually. Some of the clients we have locally is in American Airlines. We do enterprise DevOps for them. Verizon is a huge client for us. We do a lot of DevOps projects over there. Avaya is another client we do work, just to name a few. Is that, do you know Avaya, or is that, I said, when I said Avaya, you start smiling. So I said just
not because we're getting Verge conflicts on this little thing.
We're doing it while you're talking, and we promise not to distract away from your.
No, no.
Doing
as long as you're not laughing at me. I'm
No, I'm not laughing at
you. All right. So what we want to share, and I met Ben in the DevOps days, we are growing and we want to get involved with the community. I'm so glad we are here and hoping to be participating in continuous meetups. So what we want to share is some of the experiences what we have moving enterprise customers from their source code control systems, have SVN, and we also moved from Acura to primarily GitHub. We have partnership with GitHub, but everything what I'm going to say here, works for Git. You can be Bitbucket or GitHub, pick your favorite Git, will work. So with that, I'm going to go through some deck, and if some of this stuff, if it is repetitive, if you already know, just let me know. We'll move fast. And before we begin, disclaimer, right? We love all source code repositories. It's not that we favor GitHub versus SVN. If anybody SVN lovers here, right? So just want to put the disclaimer out there. All I don't want is the last line: missions never code, right? So I still have my job. So the motivators, what we are saying, we walk into and these are, obviously Fortune 50 customers, right? So it's an elephant has to make a turn. It takes a long time. They're not, though they say agile, we move fast, it takes time. But before I pitch about enterprises, anybody works here for American Airlines or Avaya or Verizon here? I would like to hear your point of view as well, but just want to check. So managers and architects, most of you stuff probably know, they allow the distributed part of it, and offline capability of GitHub. Right? Yeah, I like it because my developers are working from home, VPN issues, or my SVN server down. They can work on themselves, and that's big motivation for them. And it enforces discipline on developers' part, because now that you cannot say that, okay, I have a dependency on this guy's code, I'm downloading from SVN to do my build, I need to put together and my build is failing. But you have everything, a snapshot locally, you're on your own, so it puts a discipline for the developers. Some of the groups, you definitely see some of the groups who are technically more advanced than other groups. Enterprise is not moving, they're just putting the Git bridges and using Git. And that's another motivator. Anytime you walk in, if the developers are not Git users and then management tells them to use Git, there's a pushback. Why do I have to clone everything? Why, this is a complete new paradigm. You want me to make my release, do the business requirement by end of the week, and you want me to learn this new source code control, and what value it's adding. But once we got using them, the way we are approaching those is like, you don't need to do it, and Mr. Manager, Mr. Architect, don't push it to there and to start using it. Have them join us, like lunch and learn, and we just sit together and show them the the differences, where you get advantage of how you get productivity gains. And these days, everybody knows what GitHub is. It's just that you put a deadline for me to use it, then they come up with saying, hey, I cannot really meet the date. But they get excited once we start hand-holding them. Some of the stuff what we did is, what is your favorite IDE? We'll just give you a distribute the IDE with the plugin, and you don't see any difference. You don't need to run a command line script. You don't need to do Git web client. You can just do it from your IDE. Integration with other DevOps toolkits is, everywhere you go, you have Jenkins, most of the people, and we CloudBees is what we are using in some of our clients. It hooks GitHub, integrates with the webhooks nicely with other DevOps toolkits than other repositories. In some places, what you're seeing is people, like in one of the clients, we are doing IGA dashboard. We are extending IGA dashboard, Capital One IGAs, right? So they have some code. Yeah, I can put it back into the repo, open source, contribute back. It works nicely because it's all in the Git. You extend, start using Git, you extend some functionality, and you can easily check it back into open source. Not only for IGI, all the majority of open sources are software is in GitHub, so that helps. The management part, but this is like enterprise infrastructure group or some managing director level people. They are catching up, and I used to work at Spring Source before it became VMware. This is what we used to go tell them, Mr. CIO, you know what Spring is, it's still summer, or say, no, go talk to your developers. Do they use Spring? Yeah, everybody uses Spring. Now CIO is like, okay, I need to figure out what it is. It's the same thing, everybody is using it. There are 5 Jenkins instances, 5 box, developers are using. I want to catch up, right? I don't want to look like, I'm black. And this is particularly the enterprise groups. Yeah, I am an enterprise group. I have to serve the enterprise. I better host these things for you. So they're playing catch up. That's where companies like us that are prospering, right? We will help you to stand up the enterprise solutions for you. The store limitation of GitHub, it's not really, you can always change the limitation part of it. I think it comes with 100 gig limitation. And SVN, everybody buries everything. All the dependencies, I have everything nicely at one place. I know I can ship it. Now that's a security nightmare, right? You download open source jars. We all we love it. But for enterprise security, it's always a concern what's hidden on there other than what you're using it. Now using GitHub, we as part of migration, we're taking those binaries and putting it in the Artifactory, Nexus, or any binary repositories. There's one place for the security scheme to scan it, put any policies in place. I've not seen, at least in my customers, not putting a security policy enforcement, though like Nexus and Artifactory, they say that they can do it. But what we are seeing is it's good to have it. Let's not push it. If you push too many restrictions for the developers, they'll stop using these toolkits. So let's watch it, and we will build those policies, over the period of time. So see are some of the motivators. So let me just check with you folks. Is that something I'm going at a pace that, would you guys like to hear or move faster? Or good? I put few things, you can always find this out of Google if you are using SVN versus GitHub. And this is centralized. First, I'll go quickly dry run. If you want me to go deep dive, we can talk. Centralized versus distributed, you have branches is containing a copy of the code base, whereas in Git, every branch has the complete history, their own local copy. I can share this, that link I put in there. It's actually, it explains very neatly with examples, SVN versus GitHub matching, what you will lose in SVN branch matching and what you gain in GitHub branch matching. The complete history of SVN is at the central server level, whereas at the GitHub, obviously, everybody has their own local history. Right? When the branches are merged, they go back into the trunk. And the branch histories is the same point. It's basically branch history is maintained and completely traced at a branch level. Because once you merge an SVN into trunk, and you start developing a couple of months later, unless someone is maintaining those config files, go back and see what branch matched where. You cannot really tell how many branches matched into the trunk. In Git, you can nicely go back and say which branch matched where at what timestamp.
I got a question. Are you going to talk to your preferred branch merge process or talk about that at all? It's what you see in the industry, what your customers are seeing for what they pick for a branch merge process.
We definitely have some points about the branch, how we are doing it. Yes, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the industry standard, but what we are seeing, definitely we can talk and we can have a discussion. Any other points? So few other, if you server goes down, server crashes in SVN, you rely on your backup, and whereas in GitHub, everybody has, you can, once you stand it up, people can push back and you have a repository backup and running because it's a distributed mode. Tags are merely a timestamp on Git, whereas in SVN, it's a different code branch. You get it out. This link, if you are not gone to this, svnsgit.com, I found this is very, it talks about, hey, don't bash SVN, right? It has all the good things about SVN and what you get, what you don't get. So if you want to take a look at it, that's the URL that I found interesting. So this is how we did. Anybody has done SVN to Git migration in this room?
Oh, yes.
All right, so did you guys use the same thing, the SVN migration scripts, or do you have done any other way?
We used an SVN to Git tool.
SVN to Git tool, okay.
So we had about 50 repositories and 200 gigs of data. And one of our lead devs just kicked it off over the weekend, and then we came in Monday morning and it was done. We had our full history and we were on GitHub.
And did we tried the SVN to Git, we had some issues with the some of the branches and history not pulling it through. We can get down into more details on it. So we did try that tool.
The thing with us was that we would have to differentiate between different teams and which team needs to be getting the access to which repositories. So I guess what he's trying to say is like you migrated the complete SVN repositories, whatever 100 or 200 repositories, directly to GitHub, right? So that's what because we were contacting with different teams, so we have to merge and migrate according to their standard,
So,
how they wanted to the GitHub repo to be there.
So the challenge for us is people, hey, I'll give you these 2 SVN repos. I don't want you to touch everything else. Migrate these and these set of users. We're going to try out these 2 applications. And once developers come up to speed, then we will go to the next one. So, and again, these are large enterprise. So people tell you doesn't mean that they use it. People already using it, nothing to do with it. When you go for a migrating, we have to sell the job of, hey, start using it, you will see the value of it. So what we found this tool is SVN Migration Scripts, and I put the URL. This is from the Bitbucket guys. If you go to that URL on the cloud over there, there is very detailed steps. Some of the things that we used and some of the stuff we need to, on this we didn't make too much change. For Acura, we used a different tool. We had to completely change to about 20-30%. But here, this one, we didn't do all the steps. They put it out there for the reasons I could go over, I guess, in the next slide. So you get the Git read-only user access from the SVN repositories. That's always, either it's a challenge or it's easy, because what we've seen is SVN is hosted somewhere in production, and then, hey, who are you? Why should I give you access? And somebody sitting in sysadmin, making job tough. Or the SVN is sitting under manager's desk, and I have my desktop right there. That's where my code is, right? So, and that was one of the motivators for them to move to GitHub, saying, okay, now we are hosting it somewhere. It's better safe than the box down here. So that's easy, but otherwise, if it's hosted in production data centers, getting access is always, it takes time. Make sure Git SVN utilities is available for you in local to run it, and download this script, this particular script from the location. And typical what we do is then we sit down with them and say, okay, now tell me what's your organization and what's your team, who wants to have access to it, what do you want to call this repo, and so all those we create in the GitHub. The difference between SVN and others, which is developers work on it, and in SVN, you have only the usernames. That's all you want. GitHub has, you can have more profiles like username, and it expects at least the email ID. So you export all the authors, which is for SVN. We did not do it, but the way if you go to that link I pointed out, they will tell you go and edit that authors or text, put email ID, or you want a phone number, anything for a user, you can do it. In our case, we are not migrated the users. We are just giving a new users to the GitHub. So the history is there, but history, you can go back and say my ID was XYZ, so that was my history, but now my ID is ABC. So we don't need to go change the author's file, but this, you got to export the authors and import it, and then just it throws away from the GitHub. Clone the SVN repository using the git svn clone command right here, and the SVN repo URL and the repo name that you created. Connectivity to the remote repository. Here, git remote, you add origin is basically the key. You can put whatever name you wanted. That using that, it makes reference to the Git repositories. And we push the code and convert the Java -t file. That command, it does two things. One is all the branches, remote branches, it prints it to the local repo, and also it cleans. It has a basically Maven clean plugged into there for the jar file. Any temporary files it's created, just go clean up from your environment, and then you push everything back to Git repo, remote repo. Questions? We can show you this on Sayed's computer here, except if we do clone, it takes, I'll give you some 300 MB report took us for around 8 to 10 hours. So yeah, and I don't know if we have breakfast here, but yeah. So any questions on this slide before we go to the? So far it's interesting. Okay. Some of the points noteworthy is if you are running the scripts, what we are running, run it in Linux environment. If it's case sensitive operating systems, then you need to go back to that URL I pointed out. You got to run some additional scripts if you're running an OS X. And most of this is what I'm talking about. We SVNs have a local IDs. It is not SSO integrated. When we actually host enterprise GitHub, it is SSO integrated, so they get a new user IDs rather than migrating the users' names. In this particular customer, we hosted enterprise GitHub locally. It is not github.com, the paid version. So it's customer paid it and hosted it on their environment. And it helps to, I think I have it somewhere here. So we work very closely with the enterprise GitHub SEs. They visited a couple of times. So in fact, every documentation we produced or every scripts we wrote is verified by them to make sure, hey, this is your recommended approach for us to do it. Incremental migration, once you migrate it, you cannot completely pull the plug off of SVN, right? So you have to do like every week, every day, any changes coming in SVN, migrate to GitHub. Then you can do that, and if you can, that URL has all the details. But the way our customer want is, and I don't want all this stuff. I want you to do weekly batch process. Do it for 4 weeks. Every Saturday night we kick off and clone everything back in there, and 4 weeks later they make SVN read only, and everyone start using enterprise GitHub. And set full migration call. It takes time. Some places where we have access issues, we actually get the SVN report to our local, and because we cannot access some of these boxes. Some groups, again, it's funny when you log into the enterprise, there are some groups which is, hey, I have this app, I started doing it. Yeah, it's a 1-year-old app, but I don't care about the history. I just carry it out. I want to start using GitHub. And it was a surprise to me when I walk in, you've been doing it 1 year on this development, you really don't care about the history of it. Don't worry. I just get everything out there. I don't want to worry about the history. And that was a shock to me when I talked to the people, but there are cases like that. Slack integration was a hit. Not only for GitHub, when we integrate with other DevOps tool chains, people get particularly managers, and they can show off on their phone. Hey, I get a Slack notification. The guy committed some code in there, right? Hygia dashboard, as I was saying, we extended Hygia dashboard. If you look at Hygia dashboard, it has one graph, but what the code capital one has done it. What we have done is adding. We talk to the Git enterprise GitHub in the backend, pull more statistics that the leadership want to see. Like, for example, I want to see when was the last time this repo was used. Even though people, you have GitHub, is it like it's still nobody's using this code? It's been out there, or it's like who is the top committer, and any kind of statistics. Some lessons learned. We've been talking about. So don't expect source code repos are. This is large enterprise we're talking. This is intellectual property. So source code is somewhere tightly hidden in a log box. No, it's often found. As I said, SVN hosted in the shareable desktops. It's a pushback from developers, as I said, and we need to get them. Start working with them to get them up to speed. Working closely with enterprise GitHub really helped us. More developers developers like to do the IDE, and so what we did is Eclipse IDE, and we give it out as a package so people start using it from UI. If you want to put it in production, the answer backup, HA, and disaster recovery. So GitHub comes as a virtual appliance if you want to install it locally. Most of the infrastructure teams, not everybody is familiar with what this virtual appliance. Give me an application, I'll deploy it, I'll put Dynatrace around it, I can monitor it. Now this is an appliance coming in there. So we pulled in GitHub engineers and have some conversations to educate the infrastructure team to hold this in production. So that's SVN to GitHub. Any questions? Would you like to see anything on the scripts before I don't jump Acura? I have next slide is Acura to GitHub. Go. All right. People know what Acura is? Because I didn't know before I walk into this client. Acura is a source code repository written by Borland, right? People who do Borland C, C++ development, right? Surprisingly, at American Airlines, it was enterprise standard until like a couple of months ago, right? Somebody who sold it, and they have a team supporting them. Now, GitHub is enterprise standard along with Acura, and there's some people who they never had a source code repository approved by enterprise. SVN people are using informally. Acura was made it standard like a year ago. So a lot of people moved to Acura. Now, a year later, GitHub comes in saying, oh no, I don't want to move again. So connect my Acura to your Jenkins versus, hey, okay, now GitHub, I want to move to GitHub, move my code. The problem is SVN, there is a lot of help out there. Acura, we went to Borland saying, hey, help us to move the code out, right? And they know that they're going to go out of business, so zero help. So we got to figure it out. There is an open source tool out there. Somebody tried AC2 Git, but it's written for their own purpose. So we have to go tweak those scripts. I'll go through this. And there are multiple things. Since you're not using it, it's going to be that way PowerPoint. So I'll skim it through quickly. Stop me if you want to learn more. So Acura has a concept of streams. So they have, so it's called depot, right? Is that term right? So make sure, let me just go through these points here so I won't jump myself to the next slide here. So you make sure Acura and Git executables are there, get the SE2 Git from clone that the scripts. The Python script, what you see here, if you ever doing it, this is the help is very good on it. It's not like just list out some command lines. So do make sure you run the help, otherwise you will be stuck in next steps. And they give an example. You can copy and config file, create an example config file. So once the example config file created, that's what you go make changes it. When that, there's whole bunch of, whoever is written it, and they did a very good job of bunch of examples in there. So you just go and tweak that config file. You modify it, you add GitHub, Acura username, password. You name the depot, which is called repo in GitHub world. Map each depot to single Git repository. Run the script. This is something we learned in hard way. To one depot at a time. And if you do, like I want to do multiple depots at once, everything overwrites on one GitHub repo. I mean, that's a bug in the script. So we all like run one depot at a time, just run a cron job and migrate all the depots one at a time. You got to create an empty folder where the code will be copied for all the GitHub repos. And you have to give the start and so the second point is there's no concept of having same folder name as stream name. So you just create an empty and it creates it. You don't need to have, oh, my repo is called this, I want the same thing here. No, I mean, you just get it, dump it in an empty folder, then from there you figure it out what you want to do. You can give the time, start time, end time. I want from like last 6 months, that's last 1 year of the Acura history to be migrated. I always use the highest keyword is everything is available, and now is the what's snapshot of today. If you don't have a history, the script will not run. So you better go add some history into Acura. I mean, that's somebody created a brand new stream and there's no history, the script doesn't run. So there got to be some history. Another thing we spend a lot of time debugging is the usernames. And if you have a duplicate users in the Acura, the script fails. So make sure you delete the duplicate users. If there is, we found like somebody, a spelling mistake, so somebody created a new user, you got to go clean up Acura before you start running this migration tool. Multiple options, always use the deep history, so you get multiple branches, nested branches, what they call in Acura. You can use it. And run the script, and if you encounter any trouble, make sure you go check the help flag. Okay, that's all I have. Back to your question of the branching. Syed, do you want to show an example of our SVN, and then is that something we can do it, show an SVN what we have and how we got it to the GitHub?
I guess I'm more interested in just seeing what you guys use for GitHub branching, what you recommend, or what you
Is that something you can?
The branching was what we had was like.
You want to connect it?
No, it's okay. I'm sorry.
Let me step up.
So the branching how we had in whatever American Airlines project was basically how they wanted us. So most of the team were not concerned with the branches. So branches and tags. So we asked them, okay, before migrating to GitHub, so these will be your branches and tags. So do you want the same structure as it is in SVN? So they said that we are not worried about the branches and tag, leave everything else. Just migrate the trunk to the master and we are okay with that. So on the practical purpose, we have not migrated any branches, but yes, earlier when we have started, we have migrated the branches and tags as it was in SVN to the GitHub. So if you want, I can show you.
That's okay. I understand
That's
where
the
you're at. Don't worry about it. I think I got what I needed. Great.
Do you see clients like a certain percentage, or do you recommend a certain percentage uses like Git flow versus like GitHub flow, or like whatever new workflow is out there this month? Like, what do you guys kind of see like amongst your clients, or is it just kind of trunk based, master based development?
Yeah. So basically, it depends upon the wish of the client. So if they are not actively using the branches and the structure, so if they are just concerned with the trunk, the master code, and there are limited number of developers. So what they will do is that just migrate the code, the trunk master, and then they will fork or make the specific branches of the on the developers will work on. And the Git flow is when it will come like percentage, if you will ask. So Git flow is relatively lesser percentage of people who are using it, because still it's a new concept. So most of the people don't know about Git flow, how to use the Git flow and make the branches. So yeah, it's a relatively lesser number. I could say around 10% or 15% only for using it.
Do you try to coach them to follow a certain pattern for source control? As in, hey, by the way, you're new to GitHub, you're new to Git. By the way, you should really look into this, what is it, Git flow workflow, or you should look at, doing unstable trunk-based development. Do you try to coach them? Do you remain agnostic?
No. So what happens that after we migrate the codes and everything, we also give them the GitHub training, and we go ahead and let them know how to use the GitHub, what are the different features which the GitHub is providing you, and then we show them what are the branches and means tags are there. And then we also ask them like how you want to use your GitHub, means how you are using your SVN, whether you want to use an SVN on a command tool, or if you want to integrate with any ID. So we also educate them and explain them how to use the Git via whether the command line or the ID also. So we give them the complete training.
But to answer your question, the best practices for a couple of times, like in Arizona and as well as we tried, is bringing in actually GitHub engineers from enterprise GitHub. So like, there's a lot out there, guys. So what you're using is you just, if you have a Mercedes Park and you want to drive that as a Corolla, right? The interest with the general developer, there are some few folks which are, active in, not only the day job, but they take care of some stuff in the evening, one open source participation. They know everything. They don't, they figure it out. Rest of the people, like, I'm here to do the development. You want me to use a new source code control system? It's an extra job for me, but I'll do it because you're telling me to do it. I'm sure if you get into probably mid-market, and that's where we want to get in there to, where there is more interest for people to learn, and these are enterprise customers, which I don't want to change. You're pushing another change on me, and so it's always a constant debate when we talk to enterprise GitHub and sales engineers. Hey, there's a lot out there, guys. Your clients don't get it. I'm like, yeah, I wish my clients get it too.
Thank you.
Any other?
Alright, we can continue with our activity, and then we can talk about something here real quick.
Yeah,
So-
I do have some GitHub stickers here. I don't know if
Yeah.
for anybody, but I'll
Yeah,
let you make the
yeah.
decision.
So just to continue with our activity, I have
And then.
Am I good now?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, cool. So looks like, so here's where we're at with our little challenge here. We got, oh wow. So Morgan, I'm not sure. So I know Clory, that was one way to resolve the conflict. Put your name at the top, shift everybody down, you get the line numbers. That was I don't know, that's smart. Might not. So what I've been doing, just so you guys know, in all fairness, is I've been looking at the pull request list. I've been starting with the newest pull request and then moving up, just in case that gives somebody an advantage. But really that hasn't mattered. So John Paul was the first one, raise your hand. He was the first one to get a merge conflict resolved. So who is still messing with a merge conflict? Anybody still trying? Okay, John Paul, you might, if you guys want to collaborate, that is an open option to you. So see where you guys get with Git right there. See what I did there? That was a pun. So I'm going to borrow this this talk here from an engineer at Sony. I'll put a link later. But how many of you guys are doing, this is kind of an example of Git flow. So how many of you guys have your teams doing feature branches? Awesome. Wow, that's seriously. Feature branches? Come on, can I hear it for the feature branches? So just a few hands.
Short-lived feature branches.
Very short-lived, right?
Daily commits.
Okay. And somebody want to volunteer why you do that to the people who did not raise their hand?
Because it's integrated in Boot
No,
Market, it's
no.
Bamboo.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
feature branches make it pretty easy for me to isolate my changes and then submit it for review through a pull request model where it's all grouped together. So I can do a cohesive code review over all just my changes.
Right.
And cohesive testing.
Yes, that's right.
Integrated testing as a complete feature
Yes, absolutely.
and rejection.
So is this the best picture for what
I love this picture.
what you guys are doing? This is picture, yes, this is like awesome, right? So feature branches, and there could be multiple. So I like the way they have, like, this is a feature, this is one developer's feature branch, this might be another. I would think that this would die and that would be some, but you get the idea, right? And then how many people are doing tagging? Yeah, are you guys tagging?
Yeah, we're tagging only for major version changes. Patches we don't tag.
Right.
Yeah.
Tags are free, right? So if your process, your CI/CD process happens to tag, it's like it's free, right? But you're not really basing much off it, I wouldn't imagine, right? I've heard mobile guys are doing tagging more. I think there's some mobile deployment something. I hear that a lot with mobile guys. Like somehow there's an integration with the Apple Store based on tags or something. But so anybody doing like rebasing versus merging? Yeah? Yeah, why?
So you can do a bunch of tiny little commits in your own little area. Rebase squash it and push one commit to the group.
Okay, so you're saying like, I have this feature branch right here. I did these 3. I don't want people to see all of these. I just want one, and then I go here. So you'll rebase here, right? So I'm not good at that. I actually just use myself as an example. I was, during DevOps days, I managed the website. And I'm pretty familiar with merging, but I really hadn't rebased much. And what ended up happening was they did not, I had a pull request fail because it had been a long time between one merge and another, and a lot of changes had occurred between. But then I tried to send a merge pull request back into their master, which basically took all that history along with it. So even though the files had changed, was only like one file, right? The number of commits that went along with that was like 1,000 or some ridiculous number, right? Because so much had changed in between. So I had to figure out a different way to do that. I think I ended up just like destroying a branch, starting a new. And how many people cherry pick? Okay, and why do you cherry pick?
Because I create so many feature branches for all my little random ideas. And sometimes one of those actually is we're actually gonna go with that idea.
Okay.
And I wanna put it in a different branch.
Okay. So how about you guys? Different explanation?
That was about the same. About the same.
Okay. As a DevOps guy, I love feature branching because I can basically when I'm doing like a config change, like it's like some secret, some config dot whatever, I need to impact the config in the app, and I need to do that kind of everywhere, right? I need to make sure that that configuration has changed in all the code. Maybe it's a number of connections, or I don't know, something. Then I can go change that in every single branch, all in one go, and I don't have to worry about somebody merging that for me all along the way. It's kind of a way for me to just change it in a branch and then put it in all these places. So I think it's handy. Golden rule of rebasing, anyone? So this is rebase versus merge. Rebase is like, as DevOps guys, we should really understand this because this can really help us out. And I'm still learning the advantages of rebase. But there is this kind of rule around rebase. Do you want to explain it?
If you ever have to force push, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Right.
But
Force
also,
push is danger.
Rebasing will give you a linear Git history.
Okay.
Whereas if you're merging, if you look at your Git graph, so I don't know if you know about GitK or TIG or tools like that, but you will see like your history show like lines that go way out here. And so it's going to be hard to see like who did what commit and when and all that stuff. You kind of want it as flat as possible. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I think this helps. This is rebased. This is merged, and you have all these forks in. The rebase is, I think, mature. Like teams have been working together a lot. They'll start to rebase because they'll get this more of like a linear flow.
We'll argue that it's kind of nice sometimes it's nice sometimes preserving a little bit of history in a feature branch, because then you can kind of see the thought process, like instead of just a single merge commit for all the changes that happen in a feature branch, you can see like, if the developer kind of paid attention to it and maybe rebased and adjusted their comments so it actually made sense, and there's just 3 or 4 succinct, clean commits that then merged in, and it preserved that. It's kind of nice sometimes.
Right. I think what you're saying is exactly this, like the pro is that you really get to see everything when you even get to see when the guy pulled into his feature branch. Like you get a commit for the action of him deciding to sync his code with whatever, right? And that is, I think that's nice.
unless you do a git pull -- rebase.
Yes, this is
Right, exactly.
this is the secret thing I'm learning now. The -- rebase.
So git pull is basically just a fetch and
Merge.
merge. So git pull -- rebase is a fetch and rebase.
So it takes your local changes, takes the pull, puts them underneath yours, and puts you back on top.
Exactly. So
Yes, and this is the eloquent description that I've been striving to get right in my own mind. Did you guys hear what he said? So the -- rebase is like taking theirs, putting them before yours, and putting yours on top, which is actually what you want to do in your head. But when you merge, it goes all wrong,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So putting those in and then saying, I want whatever they gave me. I need that. Now I just want to put mine on top, right?
Yeah,
So
I
good.
created a change set, and whatever the master is or whatever, I want to put my change set on top of it.
Right.
And you can still run into like merge conflicts with that, sure, because if there must have changed on top of your rebase, you're going to still deal with it. But if you pull a lot, it'll be tiny little change sets on top of your rebase, and it's still a lot cleaner, and it's a lot easier to pull it in when you're done.
That's awesome. And then this is that golden rule. So is there a better way to articulate this? Like, as long as I'm still in my feature branch. Now he says it in a weird way. He says, or that you pulled from another person.
Right.
So what do you take
So
that to mean?
either when you've pushed your branch to someone else or pulled it from someone else, you now have shared history. As long as you're dealing with a local branch that you've never shared with anybody else, rebasing rewrites history. And that's cool because it's only your history and you can lie about it. As soon as you've shared it with someone else,
Right.
now you've got this shared agreed upon history. And if you ever have to push that branch again, now you've got to force push it and overwrite other people's history, and that gets all kinds of ugly.
Okay.
So, yeah, people will be mad at you if you do this.
Public repository or something?
Anywhere, if I share a branch with him, either way, because a Git repo is the full repo. Anytime you share a branch, anyway, pushing it from one person to another or to a centralized repo or anything else, as long as there's shared history between those two repos, if I rebase, I have destroyed part of that shared knowledge. And now I've got to force push it to get it to go over there. The other repo won't accept it.
So is it okay to say that rebasing is just a cleaner way of dealing with my own personal feature branch history?
That's the intent, yeah.
That's the
It's
intent.
supposed to be for your local stuff before you have shared history.
Cool. Cool. Any other questions or? Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, on the merge versus rebase, so in an ideal world, we all have short-lived feature branches. But in a non-ideal world, if you have like a long-running feature branch, rebases are good for like taking a bunch of actual commits where you're like, fix this, oops, typo, those kind of commits, and turning them to an actual logical commit that describes like a logical change you made that you would then push out. So for like a longer running feature branch, it makes sense to have maybe multiple rebases that you then push out. And what I've seen a few times is like you get a really tricky bug in a long running branch, maybe you took 6 weeks to develop a feature and finally made it to production. Then there's a bug. You can use features like Git Bisect to actually figure out what commit introduced the change. Now instead of having this massive like 10,000 line commit with tons of changes, you have like a 30-line commit, and you actually have like an explanation for what that was supposed to do. And you can better reason about what the change was, figure out what the bug was versus this massive commit and production.
Right. You don't have to trail into the merge branches to figure out the actual commit. Yeah. And I think this also says your tip. So git pull -- rebase versus just pull, which is the pull equals fetch plus merge. That was worth re-saying. Okay. Anything else? Should we see where we're at with our little activity here? All right. So pull requests, start at the bottom. Still conflicted. Next one. Okay, we're still in conflict there. Now, oh, this is good. All right. Now, this one, did I check that? Oh, is that the one I just accepted?
No.
No, new? Okay, we'll just go through them real quick one more time. Okay, anybody has questions? We got a couple of pros now to know how to resolve conflict. So what did you learn from that exercise?
Strict links to the web and direct links to the web.
What?
Easy to go through. Yeah, I don't have a I don't have desktop.
Oh, okay.
Don't try to resolve conflicts using the GUI.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. All right, anybody else? Like, any tips on resolving that conflict, or it's just about pulling it again and reapplying the change, right? Okay. All right, so.
How do we change a commit message? So I was trying to use my Git bash. And my Git bash was coming from my work. So I thought I can go to my .git config release through git config command. I can change my user IDs and the email. Right, I was able to make it, but when I pushed it, right, so what I didn't realize is the commit message, apart from the commit message, it also put my email as part of the commit. So I was thinking, how do I go and change my commit message? Right, so and it was not a commit message, but it was a fix to the commit message.
So is that? I think it's git config. Yeah, git config -- global.
So you can amend your commit. I don't know if you know that, but you could do git commit -- amend, and you can specify like reset authors. and then it'll let you change what your new Git config offers.
But he's already pushed it. So he's got.
Oh, you've pushed it. Okay. Yes, you'll need to submit a new pull request.
Yeah, but it's already in.
That's right.
Yeah, it's already in at that point.
Oh, it's in. Okay.
This is probably the one
So
time when a force push is maybe okay.
Yeah.
If nobody else has grabbed it.
So what's the resolution I gave, reset the author?
So this is a good site that has that on it. Go to a website.
Yep.
Oh shit, Git.
Yeah. Is it that?
Wow. What's that?
Yeah, I was looking at this the other day for a reason I will not explain.
So it has like just some very common things that you kind of like using tar, you just always need to Google. And it has like that dash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The git reset head index is the one I needed. Like just make me look like that other stuff. I don't care what I have. And then there's your commit -- amend, which is I'll just need to fix that real quick. I'm gonna start using that more because sometimes I just commit again with the same message. That's lazy.
And then you can do rebase. Yeah, rebase. Yeah.
Nice.
Squash or fix it. Yeah. Interactive rebase.
All right. People are stashing a lot sometimes when you got some stuff you don't really.
So who here knows how to do chunks from the command CLI?
Do what?
Chunks. So
Oh.
you go like, I just want this
Portion of a file.
portion here that who's done it? He knows. He talks about Vim.
Well, yeah, I do it.
Like sections of a file.
Yeah.
I used to just git add -p. It'd prompt you for individual sections of the file.
There's an interactive mode too, like Git add -i or something like that. Where you
There's
can actually get.
so you guys get rebase with the -i, the interactive rebase.
Yeah, but there's actually a git commit or git add -i where you can take the sections of the file, not the
Yeah.
whole file.
Oh,
the chunk
okay.
of the file you want to do.
And do a more thorough review as you're adding.
Right.
That's cool.
If anybody uses Vim still,
I want to be that guy. I'm just not that guy.
Git Gutter is pretty awesome, and you can like very easily just stage hunks or chunks, whatever, of the file, or undo just a portion of it.
Yeah, source tree has that feature too. Like the source tree.
Source tree's good.
Yeah.
Good Git client for beginners for
Yes.
sure.
I actually found one that I like better than source tree because they seemed overly convoluted, even though we are Jira or
Yeah.
based.
What's that?
It's just brackets with the Git plugin. Very basic, very simple editor. So I used to do everything command line, and now I basically do everything through the brackets. I'm actually starting to forget some of my Git commands.
Oh wow.
Cool.
Like, is it super powerful? Like what?
I don't know necessarily super powerful, but it meets my needs.
Oh, nice.
Just brackets your main editor, or you just
Oops. Woo. All right, so let's see where we're at. Oh, look at that.
Moral of the story: do not do it from the GUI. Do not do it from the web.
Although GitLab.com has the feature in the GUI to resolve your conflicts.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. So GitLab has some other cool features you were telling me about too. Some CI/CD stuff.
Yes.
So it looks like they're
Yeah.
They just
Play with it for a little bit.
Everything now too.
cool.
Put it in something they did great.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, Cody.
So we have, so let's look at where we're at. We have a few things to give away here. So,
That was all sorts of.
well, okay, I'll look at it raw. Let's see, where, readme, raw. Okay, so Corey, I think Corey was the first one to like get it in. Where's Corey? Okay. Okay. No, you were? No, not first on the list. First to get their commit in. So it's okay.
Yeah,
All right.
All right.
Check the commit history. Cool.
What's that?
Check the commit history.
Did you do something funky?
No, check the commit history.
Oh, now we can't see it.
I can't see.
Okay. So let's do the commit history. I thought of that earlier. And you so where do we go? We go here. You can see how much I
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
yeah, thanks. Wow. All right. So yeah, organizers can't win.
Scan it. At the bottom. Yeah.
So the bottom. Okay. Oh. I see a picture there. All right. So we got that. Who's this? Is that
That
you?
was me.
Okay. And then who's this? Okay, cool. And then we got one more. I think, John Paul, you're the first one to, okay, you're the next one in the commit history. Cool. And then we got some other things to give away, so we're not done.
Sweet.
Right? Can we use that same criteria?
Yeah, sure. There's more people above.
Okay. So if you did not get one of these, you'll be happy about it. So who's next?
Brick pattern.
What's that? Brick pattern.
Yeah.
All right, here you go. Then we got anyone else?
That looks like that's the last one.
No, who's this?
Jamie go.
All right. And then Jordan Bach. Who's that?
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. That's all we got so far. Might want to check more pull requests.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Since people know they're getting prizes now.
Yeah, there's all those conflicts.
So anybody use Git Migrator?
There you go.
All right.
Oh, wait.
Oh, that was him again.
Yeah,
We have bunch of users on not successful on a sandbox. Now we want to migrate those users
Okay. Anybody else?
into a successful integration. The way we set it up is
What?
Just here.
I'll wait until.
Oh, what's that?
There's power.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go for it. All right. So can we think of any other criteria for giving away these bad boys?
You could use the list of people that signed in over there. You can pick random names. Yeah, that's right.
So pick any number between 1 and 15.
There you go. 7.
I think this was strategic so that we could never email you, which never has happened. I think it's Carlos. All right.
I've actually done that. Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. Another number, John.
15.
Alok, or yeah, Bashka, sorry, number 15. Do you remember filling your name in? All right, new name.
We'll do number 1.
Steve. Oh, nice. Yeah. Another number.
Let's do number 13.
Oh, Joe. Joe?
Yeah.
All right. We got quite a few of these.
Yeah. I don't know how many.
3 more.
3 more? All right.
Yeah. So another number.
Let's do 4.
Another Steve.
That's Steve.
All right, sweet. And one more?
Let's do 11.
Is that Ron? Robbie?
Yeah.
Robbie? Ah, nice. And then anyone else?
Did we do 3?
We did not. Oh, that's Jack. He's got a
Oh, yeah, doesn't count.
nice supply.
All right, then we'll do 5.
Corey?
Give it to someone else.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do 9.
Jay?
I got it.
Oh,
Sorry.
You're good. Okay.
8.
Morgan?
All right.
All right. Sweet. Okay, cool. And we have a lot, right, still? We're going to keep bringing them?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so if you didn't get a Yeti,
Prize. Yeah.
a prize, then we'll go. Do you guys want to discuss anything else about Git? Any other questions for our, like?
So I was asking a question. Git
Oh, sure.
migrator. So we have a issue where we don't want it is as SSO integrated, but we don't want everybody in the enterprise just go access it. So what we did is we put an attribute in LDAP where we go enable that attribute for whoever we want to give access to. We already have like around 300 users in a sandbox environment. We want to move all these users to, we know everybody like, this is their user ID, this is their target user ID in there. So go there and, give all of them the access, just, have that attribute updated. It's LDAP update, but Git came back and said, and you can use the Git Migrator utility. And I'm trying to research and I'm going to find out if I'm going to use Git Migrator. So, I'll do my job.
Okay.
I do have a handy utility if you ever find yourself in a situation where you do have to forcefully rewrite history, and it's called Git or BFG repo cleaner.
Yes, that's a good one for like,
Yeah.
you get a monster file in there.
Like stripping blobs like over a certain number of megabytes. Like if for whatever reason you had user dependencies or whatever,
Yeah.
that never happens to anybody.
BFG Migrator.
Yeah, BFG migrator. It's basically just like a wrapper around Git filter branch, but not just.
Yeah, it's
Little
great
more.
for somebody commits a large binary in there or like a DMG file. I've had that happen.
And it's just get it out of your history so it doesn't clog it up. Or you have like for some reason somebody committed a password and like everybody was pulling that down or something. A remote branch.
Is anybody using Git hooks? Because I know for some certain projects, like you don't want certain files to go in, you don't want the OS files getting in there. Anybody using anything like that?
We use GitHub but only for like Jenkins files.
Okay.
You know the web tool?
No, I mean like
Yeah.
you're not allowing commits of certain kinds because they meet certain criteria.
So
You're like,
GitLab installs Git hooks automatically on new repos that prevent you from being able to do a Git force push or things like that unless
that's handy.
you like enable certain permissions.
And the last revision of GitLab, like 8.12, actually has a regular expression parser and automatically rejects things that end in .pem.
Oh,
So if
Ooh.
you're like committing keys and things like that too. So
that's cool.
and you can do anything else with
Yeah.
regex parser.
Yeah.
It's on premises, right?
You can
Yeah, GitLab is on-prem and also GitLab.com. Hosted.
Yeah, they've made some. I used to think of it as like the poorly installed on-premise thing. It's way past that now.
well, they got like serious funding and stuff.
Right.
So,
It was like in the last.
Been about a year since I worked with it.
Yeah.
Because I started using Bitbucket, well, it was stashed at the time with Bitbucket. I don't necessarily like the Bitbucket nickels and dimes you for every little bitty thing, but I do like that it's all self-contained inside one little thing.
Right. So, but the pricing model is okay. It's comparable to GitHub, right?
Well, so it depends on what your need is. If you have less than 10 users needing to use it, it's $10. Yeah, for an enterprise level solution. But if you need to go over that, then it skyrockets.
Okay.
GitLab is, as far as I'm concerned, it's free, unlimited private repos. That's why I got into it.
Right.
I'm using their hosted solution.
Yeah.
And what got me even more hooked on it, it's like, whoa, look, they're offering the Docker registry, private Docker registry for free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So
That's
became
great.
a little sticky.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I host GitLab on-prem and I've got 299 users in there and free, you know, so.
Nice.
And we got 950 projects in there,
Wow.
so.
That's good.
Yeah, it's free, so.
I use a free, I use the enterprise version actually, GitLab on-prem to back up my GitHub.
Oh, okay.
Because it does automatic mirroring and it'll pull automatically like once an hour from all my repos in GitHub. So we've had times when we're like doing a deploy in Amazon and we've had routing issues in GitHub and we couldn't pull code. And I don't want to be in that position. So, you know, for I think one user license on GitLab Enterprise is like $40 a year or something like that. So
So you're using it as the backup.
yeah,
Backup of the backup.
It's my DR for GitHub.
Yeah.
That's neat. That's neat. Anyone else doing anything creative with source control? Anyone forced to not use Git? Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
We still have some TFS, unfortunately.
TFS, right?
Oh, that's
How many people would take a job where they said we're still on SVN? It's good.
We chose
Yeah,
not
I
to.
migrated.
Yeah. So what?
Good luck.
Right.
No, the actual Microsoft.
So you didn't worry about history. You just took the code and went to Git. That's good. Right. Right. Makes sense. Cool. Anything else? All right, cool. Well, hang out. We can stay as late as we want.